Ken, welcome to the Sipping Point.
Thank you so much for having me on, Laurie.
Well, I'm so excited to talk and taste Fresh Victor with you today and all your handcrafted cocktail mixers. But I love to start out when I'm speaking to somebody new, just to hear a little bit about how you got into this business, because I'm sure all your friends and family are super jealous of that you're in the craft spirit and mixer world. But I know it's not always a easy journey to get there. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you came to start this business, Fresh Victor.
Yeah, it was an absolute journey over 3 decades. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a year. It really was a adult lifetime of wanting to do things in kind of a more culinary or Epicurean way when it came to celebrating. And most importantly, I really think about Fresh Victor, especially around occasions. I really think that when you're eating and drinking, you're bringing people together. And so my entire adult life has been kind of spent wanting to bring people together in a way that's more meaningful, where they connect. And so for me in particular, I ended up following a girl down to Guadalajara and getting married.
As
And
one does.
yeah, this happens from time to time.
Romantic.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely was. And I really was trying to find a reason to stay or what I was going to do next as far as my professional career. And I was really fortunate in the sense that I was greeted by a number of incredibly warm people in Guadalajara that were very proud of kind of the national treasure that is tequila, or high-end 100% agave tequila, more importantly. My experience in that space to date, during school and everything else, was really shots of Mixto Gold tequila.
Same.
Okay, thank you. So I have one other person that now I can relate to on this. They looked at me like I was absolutely raised outside. Like they couldn't believe that I wasn't more familiar with kind of the Epicurean craft of the spirit itself, being complex, coming from, Blue Weber agave, highlands, lowlands. There was so much rich culture and history behind tequila that wasn't being telegraphed all the way up to where I was in Northern California, in the Bay Area. And so that disconnect in and of itself just fascinated me. I couldn't believe that there was this whole world that I was unaware of. And I started asking a series of questions that led me to spending a great deal of time, I'd say probably a year and a half to 2 years, on just learning everything I could about growing agave, about fermentation, distillation, about the craft itself. And what I really discovered over that period of time was there was a prodigious disconnect between the US and Mexico. Mexico was much more of a cash-based society of what are we going to do together today? No pro formas, no let's talk 5 to 7 year plans out, or we're going to be the next Coca-Cola of the United States. It was much more, hey, let's be realistic and what are we going to do together as far as production? And then the US was much more, hey, long-term, what are our set goals and how are we going to grow something? And so it became apparent to me that there was at least a space for myself in consulting where I could help people understand the two sides, the importation, the, retail distribution, the 3-tier system. And it was good timing. This would have been in the mid to late 90s. And so
Yes.
was on the front end of all this. I couldn't have told you a half dozen 100% agave tequila brands off the top of my head back then. It was before Patron. And so we were really talking about, Porfidio and Herradura and, a handful of prevalent brands that had been around for generations. However, there wasn't, leading brands leading the charge of, drink better tequila. After a while, my wife said, why are we showing everybody how to import tequila when we could be doing that? And that's really where we landed for quite a while. And so I'd say from the late 90s all the way to 2012, 2013, we were really in that 100% agave tequila space.
Wow.
Both, Laurie, from educational facet, educating the industry, so the wholesalers, distributors, the accounts themselves, the restaurants, bars, casinos, cruise ships, concert venues, these sorts of things. And then also the home consumer, when you were going out to the liquor stores or grocery stores to buy things, really kind of touting what an Epicurean spirit tequila truly is.
Yes.
So that took a half generation right there. That was like,
Right.
Yeah. Now
Well, I think a lot of people like me, had Cuervo shot or something when they were in college, did not like it at all. and then pretty much didn't really revisit tequila again until probably the 2000s when it really started coming into the mainstream culture, the idea of good tequila and sipping tequila and the craft behind it.
It's you hit the nail on the head. It's exactly that. And so I'd
Mhm.
oftentimes lead the discussions with a lot of us have that tequila nightmare that we never got over. Hey, I can't smell it. I can't taste
Mhm.
it. I don't want to talk about it. That's not something that I engage in. Whereas it was kind of an unfair test or marker as far as if you really explore what's out there and available, especially now in this marketplace, you're going to find something that you probably really love for a myriad of different reasons.
Yes. So having all that success in tequila, and of course, people do drink tequila straight, but also it's a great addition to some high end cocktails. What brought you from that, from making and importing your own high end tequilas or well crafted tequilas to saying, you know what, I should make the mixers that go along with the tequila?
It's a great question because the two don't necessarily go hand in hand.
Right.
For me, I think that recognizing or identifying the opportunity. And so at the time in the 90s, 100% agave tequila was the opportunity. It was totally misunderstood. There's no question about it. And so it was really gratifying to be able to teach somebody something that they would want to share with other people. It went all
Hmm.
the way from, do you know the difference between a mixto and 100% agave tequila to, hey, do you know the difference between Highlands red clay soil and Lowlands black volcanic soil? Do you know the difference of where this is coming from? All these different facets were really fun and rewarding to talk about. For a long period of time, it wasn't just a weekend. It was
Hmm.
over a decade, where it was really being discussed in a meaningful way. That segment became much more saturated over time, which is a natural occurrence. And a good example is, what I was really something fascinating to me that I was taught when I got down to Guadalajara was they very much used the Blanco tequila like we were, as Americans, were using vodka. It was extremely mixable. So they were
Hmm.
making it with all sorts of fruit juices and soft drinks and tonic and club soda and just so many different ways to use it that never occurred to me because I was completely conditioned to shots or margaritas. There was no in between at all. And so that was a real eye opener. As time went on and we got, closer to kind of the saturation point, what we found was people were asking us more and more and more, how do you make these wonderful cocktails? And when I was doing my demonstrations, I wasn't realizing that I was taking 4 to 5 minutes to build this wonderful drink, using agave nectar, squeezing limes, cutting it with water, doing these things a lot of different ways, but really building something I could be proud of to say, hey, taste this. What do you think?
Hmm.
What the feedback I was getting back is this is tremendous. We love what you just gave us. We don't have 5 minutes to make a drink. How do you do that, but in 20 seconds? That blew
Yes.
my mind. I had no answer at all. Well, I've never sat at one of my own dinner parties because I'm behind the bar all night. I don't eat dinner,
Hmm.
but they all come to me. So we talk. It's fun.
Yes.
That was a turnkey moment, a kind of aha moment for me as far as, hey, there's a real opportunity here to figure out how do you do that in 20 seconds? And I always ask myself, why isn't somebody already doing it? That's probably more important. Maybe I'm up against a brick wall here and I don't have a recourse or a solution. That being said, my wife and I were really fortunate in the sense that we were able to take this first product before Fresh Victor kind of through a test drive of creating a fresh mixer brand and seeing what that all entailed. And Laurie, it was a lot more complicated than I anticipated.
Wow. Because you think alcohol is the most complicated because of laws and three-tier system and importing. So, what were the challenges in the craft mixer space?
Making it so it really does come back to that quality or not compromising statement of you want to be premium. You want to really feel like you're giving somebody something good. And that's always what, I've really rooted myself in is if we can create those moments of connection and celebration and breaking bread together and doing things where we have very, very fond memories. That is a throwback to almost nostalgia. That comes back to like, hey, your grandparents, like what did they
Hmm.
make? What did you share on a Sunday evening dinner? What are your fondest memories of growing up? And that's all, to me at least, homemade stuff that's on your grandma's shopping list, not inventive
Right.
stuff to extend shelf life or to, if you look at the space now, you really look at convenience of long shelf life, ambient or room temperature, ready to drink things that, you can put anywhere. And for me, it was much more of that, hey, can we do something that hits home because people are like, wow, that's fantastic. How'd you do that? The only way that I found that you could do that was really through cold chain and refrigeration, which in and of itself, Laurie, is such an impasse to entry into anything because cold chain distribution is a whole different thing that people don't want to really engage in because it's not easy to do, especially with code dates and having to cycle through things and having to make sure it's fresh and these sorts of components. And so what I was met with initially was, can you make it shelf stable? So here's where it really gets interesting. What you want to do is create something, we've all been conditioned to mixers being just an afterthought. I'm going to buy my spirit. I'm going to buy my sparkling wine. I'm going to buy my wine. I'm going to buy my whatever. And I'm going to pair it with something that is already there that I can just grab. Well, that traditionally, at least for me growing up in the 80s and 90s, was relegated to neon green, cloudy, high fructose corn syrup mixers that aren't good, that can be anywhere from 300 to 600 calories per cocktail because, it's really not designed to be health conscious or something that you can be proud to serve. And so I wanted to kind of look at how do you reverse engineer that and say, what if 2/3 of the glass, what if the mixture was really good? So you're not saying, hey, I'm buying this, $40, $50, $60, $70 bottle of tequila in a $4 mixer, but you're saying, hey, these level up against each other. What if we just had fantastic drinks that we could have 2 or 3 of and feel really good about it and not feel bad the next day, not feel the after effects, but be doing it just like it's homemade each and every time? And that was really the sentiment behind, hey, let's do something that we can be truly proud of.
I love that. And with Fresh Victor, and I think we're going to maybe start tasting some of your flavors. I did take a few sips. They're delicious. But if people go to your website and they order some of your mixers and they get them home, obviously they should be refrigerated. But what is the shelf life for the typical mixer that someone would buy?
I think that's the really great news about all this is that our mixers being cold pressed citrus, being lime juice, lemon juice, orange juice, it's very acidic and very high on the pH scale. And that's extremely stable with the caveat that you have to keep it cold. There's the trade-off, right? If you can keep it cold months, we mark the bottles that you receive from date of production, we mark those at 120 days from date of production.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
that's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time. And if you can't drink a bottle that size in that amount of time, I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Right.
But the other side of this is that I really enjoy quite a bit is that although we market at 120 days, that's self-imposed. It doesn't go bad like, woo, that went really bad. It's more like the citrus, because it's fresh, is going to fade on you. It's like anything in life. When you have something fresh, you want to eat it in a finite amount of time. You don't want it to last forever. And so the idea being that, you've got months to drink the Fresh Victor, but our fervent hope is that you have purpose to drink it more quickly.
Yes. Well, speaking of the first one that I chose to try, and you have 9 different flavors. So there are so many great ones, but I chose 3 and then we can kind of talk about some others. But the first one is grapefruit and sea salt, which I love both those things. So I was definitely attracted. I'm drinking these just straight. And it's dry January. That's the other point. If people want to just drink these with a little club soda or, anything, sparkling water, tonic that does not have alcohol, these are so delicious. You could drink them, just solo as well. Or you can add in your gin, vodka, tequila, whatever your favorite mixer might be. But tell me a little bit about this flavor and any inspiration that you had on this one.
This one is really bright. It's fantastic in the sense that it's really rooted in the Paloma. the salty dog,
Yes.
the things you said it so beautifully. Neutral based spirits. So when you think about tequila, vodka, gin, mezcal, pisco, it's really easy to mix the grapefruit and sea salt with that. And then if you want to modify it all, if you want to add a splash of club soda or tonic or anything, I really like garnishes. If you want to
Hmm.
add dried fruit or you want to add a sprig of rosemary or you want to do whatever, it makes drinking really easy where you can just say, hey, the base ingredient's done for me. I just add my spirit and a garnish and I'm ready to go. The
Love
other,
that. And oh, I was just going to say this would be great for a mimosa as well. I love grapefruit mimosas, so I could see putting a little sparkling wine on top of this as well.
you beat me to it. 100%. That's
Sorry.
exactly what I was going to say. It's beautiful for mimosas, for sangria with a really dry white wine. They blend beautifully. You just slice up a bunch of fresh fruit and put it in a bowl. My kids thoroughly enjoy it with just sparkling water, different flavors of sparkling water. They take Waterloo or other brands and just mix them together. And the good thing about how we, constructed Fresh Victor is you can completely dial up or dial down the ratios or amounts to suit what you like best. And so if you take a highball glass, you can go half Fresh Victor, a quarter Fresh Victor, 3/4 Fresh Victor, however you want to do it, whatever feels right to you it's ready to go.
Do you have like vision of cocktails in mind when you come up with a specific flavor? Like I see you have a sour, and I know my daughter loves vodka sours. She is over 21. So is that the idea of some of that nostalgia, that this is an easy way to make a whiskey or a vodka sour with that mix?
Absolutely. So part of it is exactly that. We, kind of pre and post prohibition, when you're looking at fresh ingredients and how you want to build a drink, you want to do it with the flair and the style and the actual competence of somebody that does it professionally. And the hard
Mm.
part of that is the ingredient panel. When you're dealing with fresh ingredients, one of the things that you have to deal with is, are these limes or are these jalapenos or is this ginger more bitter, more sweet, more fruitful as far as juice yield, or more dry, or what have you. From cocktail to cocktail, there can be a prodigious difference. The thing that Fresh Victor lends to the consumer base is we're testing each batch week over week with the pH to make sure that it's exactly the same as the week before. And so you have nothing to worry about, think about, stress about. You can build a
Right.
whiskey sour, you can do a perfect, pisco sour each and every time without having to worry like, hey, this may not be as good as last time. So when I think about the flavors or how we really went out with our ideology as far as why we would do these 9, the good part of it is popular drinks, things that people really want. Like you can see very easily how the Mexican lime and agave would lend itself to margaritas or to daiquiris per se.
Yes. And I did let everyone know in the beginning, you were rated the best margarita by Food and Wine magazine. So they're pretty discerning. So obviously your mixers are getting noticed in that way as well.
We try. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And thank you. That means a lot. We really try to do things in the right way. And by doing that, we want to address both the industry as well as the consumer. For us, what's really important is we want to deal with ingredients and materials that are maybe a little bit more difficult to deal with at home or behind the bar. So jalapeno, prickly pear, ginger, cucumber. When you think about measuring these things out, it's not always easy when you're getting ready for a nightly service on an on-premise like a restaurant or bar, or you're at home and you're slicing ingredients on a Saturday afternoon to serve to guests at a dinner party on Saturday evening. To get that right each and every time, it's much like baking. Consider mixology very akin to baking as far as the ratios are really important, and it should be exactly like you like it, because that's what's most
Hmm.
important. But getting those ratios the way you like it isn't always the easiest thing to do. And so we try to make it a lot easier.
I really like that. And that's a good point. It brings me to the cucumber and lime, which was the second one I chose to try. And I think it's because I've had a number of cocktails at places near where I live that I've really loved that have had those two ingredients in them. I don't know, if they're cool as a cucumber, like different names that our local restaurants have created. But what was your vision for this? I mean, obviously, if you're selling to a restaurant, you're giving the bartender, an amazing ingredient and saving them a lot of time. but also for the home mixologist, if you will. What was there a specific drink that this was inspired by?
I'd say several. If you actually smell it, we
Mm.
keep the skins on the English cucumbers when it goes into emulsification before we reintroduce the fresh cold pressed lime juice. So it retains a lot of the fragrance. Like you really get the cucumber pops right away.
You really do.
And you really want to be able to, much like the jalapeno as well, you want to be able to taste the culinary aspect of the cucumber and jalapeno much more from a vegetable standpoint than just, sweetness or just heat or just whatever. You want to be able to really kind of feel like, hey, that's shining through and that's a star in the drink. And
Mhm.
so for us, it was really inspired by the fact that people were using cucumber in different ways. And so if it was the UK, they were really using it kind of more like in a Collins way, in a highball glass with ice and club soda, vodka, gin, rum, tequila, like you were saying, kind of those neutral based spirits made a beautiful long drink with the cucumber and that could be appreciated, especially seasonally. And then you had the aspects of a lot of cucumber margaritas. We were seeing a lot of things being infused with both tequila and mezcal, where the cucumber really complemented the agave-based spirit. And so we wanted to make that a lot easier for the restaurant and bar accounts, but also the fact that people really appreciate that kind of stuff at home and they could play around at home with it.
That's nice. The third one that I chose, which is a little out of my normal, my normal direction of cocktails, but I wanted to get a good cross section here that I was tasting the strawberry and lemon. And so tell me, of course, I think what were the daiquiris and things like that was sort of the first thing that came to mind for me. This would be like really awesome in a frozen. But because I don't drink these kind of berry cocktails, was that the inspiration for you, or what were your thoughts here?
So with each one of these mixers, these fresh mixers, we welcome
Wow.
going a bunch of different directions. And so most of
Hmm.
it, flavor profile, right? We want to make sure that you go, wow, that's really
Like
fresh.
it's so strawberry, but fresh, not like strawberry flavoring or yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's exactly what we want to inspire here is that the fact that you feel like you're drinking something so good that you want to share it with others. You want your daughter to try the lemon. You really enjoy the strawberry. And so for us, with strawberry, whether it's margaritas or daiquiris or frozen drinks, rum, tequila, gin, vodka, it all marries beautifully with the strawberry and lemon. But also, what's really great, and you kind of already implied this earlier, any type of mimosa or sangria, like with sparkling rosé, the
Hmm.
strawberry is fantastic. And so we're seeing people use it in a bunch of different ways.
Now, it sounds like from our talk so far that you have restaurant or trade customers that are using this in their bar program. But then the other great part is people can go to your website and just purchase this direct. It'll come to your house like my samples did today with ice packs. It's all still refrigerated, and then you can just put it away right in your refrigerator and you have 120 plus days to enjoy it. Tell people a little bit about, if they go to the website, what can they expect there? And obviously the 9 flavors, but I think you have various sizes and ways of ordering these.
That's absolutely right. So, I mean, what we try to do for the home consumer is make sure that you can curate the box to however you want it. That's completely up to the individual. And so they can go on the website. We have a series of recipes there that are kind of tried and true for the 9 flavors. But then beyond that, we really encourage people to do what they like to do best at home. Experiment. Just see, there's no right or wrong with this. You can mix it with anything. So you can just figure out what you like best. There's 2 sizes. The restaurant size that is also great for the home consumer that's entertaining is a 64
Mhm.
ounce kind of half-gallon bottle that's a handle. That's really great for, if you're going to serve 20, 25 drinks. It's perfect for the day by the pool, for the backyard barbecue, for, if you're making a bunch of margaritas or daiquiris or, what have you, palomas. Additionally, we have a 16-ounce pint size. And that's going to be ideal for kind of 5 to 7 cocktails. So if you have a couple that is just going to each have a couple drinks, or you're going to have multiple flavors, and so you don't want to have too much of one variety, it comes in that size. And it's really easy to store those. You can put them in a door of a refrigerator, in the back of the refrigerator, whatever best for you, and just break it out when you're ready to break it out.
At the end of the show, I'm going to give everyone a special code that you shared. Thank you so much, for 20% off at Fresh Victor on anything you want to pick up for your cocktail needs. And so if you are looking to, maybe take a couple nights off, or you're doing dry January, or whatever your reasons are, this, to me, that, non-alcoholic sparkling wine with any of these mixers would just be a delicious, way to have a fun beverage at night that's not, water. I get sick of water.
Right. This is one of those things where over the last 3 decades, we've really watched people that aren't drinking cocktails be relegated to a bottle of water or a can of Coca-Cola. And this is so much fun to share. We can be drinking the exact same thing. I could be having it with sparkling water. You could be having it with tequila, and we're drinking the exact same mix.
Right.
And so we can compare notes again. We're bringing people together, which is, I think, the most exciting thing for us.
For me, wine and spirits, of course, all of it is about connection. And so I love that that's your focus. And people are more aware of what they're putting in their bodies. And I love that this is all fresh, good ingredients. And you're not worried, like you said, that there's fructose syrup in there, or preservatives, or all of those things that we're finding out that are really not good for us, that in the aisles of the grocery stores. I appreciate you having that focus. When we were prepping to come on, I did ask you if you were a wine fan, because obviously that's a big part of what I do. And I'm just curious. I asked one of my guests last week what their death row wine would be. If you could just have one more wine in your life, if you had to choose, what is that special wine that is your favorite?
For me, it's going to be something sentimental. It's going to be something that I can go back into the 90s with my wife and think about what we kind of discovered together being up here in Northern California. And so it would be a red blend, and it would be by Ridge.
Love it. What a great winery too.
Yeah. I think we found that somehow probably in maybe 99 or 2000. And it just brings back memories of kind of being on a patio in the rain and not caring.
Yeah, well, lovely. And that's kind of when I really started getting into wine as well, around that same time frame. And then I quit my software job, and here we are. But you are definitely on the West Coast there in the Bay Area, and a great place to experience a lot of different kinds of wines. But the cocktail scene is great, and I'm so thankful that Fresh Victor is there. Is there a way for folks to know what restaurants use your mixers, or is that secret?
Definitely not. I like to telegraph that as much as I possibly can. Yes, we will, we kick out social media, and we definitely do a series of things. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Threads. We like to inform people when we go into new areas and it becomes available. We definitely want you to know about that. And something else I just wanted to let you know about really quickly is, when I say this is really built for occasions, I think in my heart, at least part of me, I have felt like in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of disconnection. And whether it was the pandemic or whether it's just a younger thing, a lot more screen time, a lot less personal time. And that can be, from how I grew up, that's a little scary. Like I want to really combat that. I want more occasions. I want more connecting. I want more sharing. I want more laughter. And so, to have something that we can entice people to try, I think the proudest thing for us as a company is being clean label, being fair trade, being non-GMO, being kosher, being all preservative free, all these things to make sure that people understand that we're really trying to do things like they used to be done, and we want to bring people back together.
I will definitely be sharing my samples and having a little get together with people and connecting and letting them taste how great this is. And at the close of the show, folks, I'm going to give you a discount code for 20% off Fresh Victor, anything on the site. So stay tuned. In a few minutes, we'll get there. But Ken, thank you so much for joining me on The Sipping Point. I am a huge fan now. I don't know how I could mix with anything else now that I've tried this. So thank you for bringing this to the market.
Laurie, thank you so much. It's been such a joy. I really enjoyed meeting you.
All right. Well, cheers, and we'll talk to you very soon.